It's the second night of a back-to-back for the Phoenix Suns, playing against the Charlotte Hornets. They're a young athletic team with athletic bigs on the interior. Kind of sounds like a recipe for disaster for Phoenix. But then you realize that the Charlotte Hornets have won one game since before Thanksgiving. Their last win was the 8th of December. They're on a 10-game losing streak. So surely there would be no issue for the Phoenix Suns going into Charlotte, being an older team themselves, tired legs, all that. But with the big three and pretty much everyone on the team healthy outside of Royce O'Neal, no problem whatsoever. We were duped once again. Phoenix Suns lose, handing a team that's 7-27 their 8th win of the year. Absorb that. Feel it in your soul. And let me tell you in a little bit why I'm happy about this. Welcome to the Suns Jam Session Podcast. My name is John Voigt, a managing editor of Bright Side of the Sun, and I've got another special guest for you today. Haven't talked hoops with this guy in quite some time. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Matthew
Wow,
Lissy.
hey, we're back together. The band's back together.
That's why I'm happy.
Jamsters, they must have just thought we split for good and couldn't look each other in the eye anymore. Brad Burleson, I love this. Fuck this team. I can't watch anymore. I feel like we're all feeling that way right now. But at least we're back together, so that's happy, right?
We watch this team so you don't have to. Yeah, I think that people thought that there was some kind of rift going on during the holidays. Like during Thanksgiving, I wanted the turkey leg, but you got it. And then I got upset at you because you got the turkey leg and I was stuck with a thigh. But I was like,
imagine if we fought over that.
Oh man, that'd be hysterical. I don't have we ever fought about anything ever?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I don't think so.
But obviously
we just ignore stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I wish I could ignore this Phoenix Suns team right
too.
now, because this is absolutely atrocious to watch this team play the way that they did. And again, I don't think that it's totally unexpected or outside the realm of possibility, right?
No, not really. Even after last night's win, you kind of you hear other news about them putting Beal on the bench because, they want him out of here. So you're like, oh shit, okay, never mind. Maybe the Suns aren't headed in the right direction. So everything, it's expected. I think starting out as well as they did tonight, you're kind of like, okay, they're kind of building off of last night with Booker stepping up. But then again, man, it's just the energy is just zapped. So it's exactly the same team, just another night.
Yeah, exactly. And giving up the 8th win and 8-27 now are the Charlotte Hornets, and they leave with the victory, and the Suns now drop to 16-19 and a team in peril. There's a lot to unpack here in this loss by the Phoenix Suns to the Charlotte Hornets. But until we get there and talk about all that stuff, again, welcome to everyone to the show. Subscribe, rate, review, do all that fun stuff. Give more effort than the Suns. I'm serious. If you're listening or watching this, prove you have more effort than the Suns. Click the like button. If you're on Apple Podcasts, which the majority of our watchers are or listeners are, hit the 5 stars, man. If you're on Spotify, give us 5 stars. Prove you have effort. Crack them if you got them. Matthew swigging water. I'm doing Diet Dr. Pepper. Let's talk about this game and, again, why I'm happy about it. Loss for the Phoenix Suns. They go to Charlotte, and they don't just barely lose. They lose 115-104, fall flat in the second, fall flat in the fourth, lose a game that they should have won on paper. But again, given the fact that this Phoenix Suns team has so many internal issues, you can't help but have it bleed out onto the court. So definitely something that is unfortunate, is frustrating to watch, but not completely unexpected. But it brings me to my first question.
Matthew, I've got to ask.
Matthew, I got to ask. There's 7 deadly sins, right? And that's not my question. One of those is envy. And I have envy for people who comment on the show, who watch the show, who follow us on Twitter, and who are stans. I envy those who are stans because I was watching the game tonight and I was watching Devin Booker, who we'll talk about here shortly, and how he went for 39 points and 10 rebound or 10 assists. And I wish I was a stan instead of a fan. Do you?
So a stan is a super fan, right? Is
Yes.
that
You
what
care
it?
about the
Yeah.
player, not the team. So when Devin Booker goes for
Mm.
39 and 10, you can still enjoy your night and go, you know what? Booker fucking killed it. Fuck the rest of the Suns. They suck. Man, I love me some Devin Booker. Just like all the KD
Mm.
people who show up around here.
Yeah, I think that's the one that I think of the most would be Kevin Durant. Their fans are that way. There's a lot of people that just don't like Devin Booker. So I don't see any guys or any people out there that are fans of just Devin Booker and then just like the Suns too, or just like Devin Booker by himself. I think it's just kind of like you like the team as a whole. But I don't know what are you jealous about? What's the envy there?
Just that. It's like Adam Cooper said in the chat. He says it's easier life being a stan because, again, you don't ride your success night after night with the success of the team. It's with the success of the individual. And so when Booker goes for 39 and 10 or Kevin Durant has a great game, you can come into forums that are designed for people who appreciate and are rooting for a team success and still be happy. Because on a night like tonight, when the Suns suck and Devin Booker goes for 39 and 10, I would go to bed happy tonight because I'm like, man, the Suns are fucking ass, but that Devin Booker, I sure do love him. I envy that. I don't have that. I don't possess that. I can't. I'm a Phoenix Suns fan through and through. There's nothing more I want than the success of this organization. But man, it would be nice to be a stan, wouldn't it?
It would, and I think if I wasn't doing the pod or Brightside, then I don't think I would be watching this team at all.
I
'Cause
know I wouldn't be.
we see a lot of comments even right now, like I'm done watching this team, but we see that a lot this year, and they're still watching, they're still holding on. There's a little bit they can hold on to, and just wish that maybe a trade can happen, or maybe this team can turn it around. But now that they're 16 and 19, it's looking slimmer and slimmer every game. So pretty soon this chat's going to slim down just a little bit more and more and more every game that the Suns lose. Thanks a lot, Suns.
Yeah, and it does somewhat make me happy, this kind of loss. A loss to, as I mentioned at the front end of the pod, the statistical anomalies that the Suns lost to tonight, a team that hasn't won since November 23rd. You know, think about that's 5 days before Thanksgiving. It's the last time that this team, or they won on December 8th, but they're won one game since then, December 23rd. Between now and then, they've won one game. That's 45 days. They've won one game, and now they've won two because of the Phoenix Suns. But the reason it makes me somewhat happy is you're starting to the cracks in the foundation that we've been observing, that we've been reporting on in our Phoenix Suns fan fashion, is starting to make itself seen on the surface. Things that we picked up on, Matthew being the body language expert and watching early on in the season, seeing some slumped shoulders and seeing how the team was responding and the lack of passion, the lack of grit, the lack of hustle, those things that ultimately started to lead to losses instead of victories. It's all starting to kind of boil to the surface. And for me, a loss like this is almost so embarrassing that it could be the catalyst for change. Now, we saw change this past weekend when on Sunday, Mike Budenholzer announced that Bradley Beal and Yusuf Nurkic would go to the bench. They came out last night and they beat a Sixers team that has been struggling as well, dealing with injuries, and had no interior whatsoever. Gershon Yabusele was their primary five. And the Suns, to their credit, halfway through the game, realized that. It took them halfway through the game to realize it, but halfway through the game, like, oh shit, if we just attack the interior, good things will happen. Bradley Beal's aggression in that third quarter, 14 points. We outscore them in the third, we coast to a victory. But tonight, when you play that young athletic team that has guys who, if you give them any opportunity to start feeling themselves, they're going to continue to do so. And the Suns, in typical fashion, came out and took advantage of themselves. They sat there and go, you know what? This is a team we should beat. And they started beating them. And then instantly complacency set in going into the second quarter. They scored just 17 in the second quarter while giving up 37 points. And that was the end of the game. Do you see the cracks in the foundation that are starting to bubble to the surface, ultimately leading to some semblance of an implosion sooner rather than later now, because we're less than a month from the trade deadline. Do you think after a loss like this, we could see some change overnight?
Man, after the loss about a month ago, I could have saw a change. Once the Jimmy Butler thing started, I thought it was going to be any day now. When I was with Suns Geek a couple games ago when they lost, and you did the winning pod last night.
I finally
But
got one.
that loss, I was like, okay, something's going to happen. So Suns Geek, what do you think is going to happen? When's it going to happen? So I feel like, Bill Simmons did, I guess, say something about the trade's going to happen this week. So if it's going to happen, it's going to happen this week. But the cracks in the foundation, yeah, I think you can just definitely see it, not even from just the start, but the ending when they're holding onto the ball. You can just see the body language of all those guys, like even Grayson Allen. Even when Grayson Allen comes out of a game, like he just looks so defeated, right? KD just always putting his head back, like, oh, they made another three. And just like anytime the ball's turned over, he's just like, oh my fucking God, and just never getting back, right? So we're seeing a lot of that constantly throughout the game. But when they're just holding onto the ball and the game's over, you just see the sadness in them. And I think even last game when they did win and they were riding off Beal's energy, they had that because Beal was making every shot, right? I think he lifted them up, and it's been like the lift they needed since the 8-1 start. But in a game like this, where they start to fold and start to lose the lead, they just can't gain it back because they don't have the right guys if they're not making shots to kind of play make and get other guys open and make the right shots and make the right attempts. They have like these hustle guys and like Oso, who played great last game, and Ryan Dunn, who still played pretty good tonight, but a lot of energy from those guys, but they're never the guys that can like set guys up, like get the momentum switch. Like they'll do like the little plays here, the tips here or there to get the loose balls, but they just don't do enough to really get this team head in the right direction to come back. We have the guys in Booker, Durant, and Beal who are supposed to do that, but those guys get so down on themselves so quickly that it's over before it's over, and they keep showing that every game. And they're just so hot and cold, but as of late, except for the last game, it's just been so cold to where they just are in their heads too much. And with all the trade rumors and all that shit, like you can just tell like this team can't stand each other, and they're just having the hardest time putting together a win.
100%. And I like what David Yolovich said in the chat. He says, truth is, this is a blessing. Would hate to have the back office keep it rolling if we had one or two sneaky wins. And that's kind of where I'm coming from on this one, where a win against Philly, and if they go out and they win tonight, a game again they should have won, it prolongs this period where the Suns clearly have been in the news as a team that's been trying to wheel and deal. And unfortunately, due to all the issues that we know, this perfect scenario, this Frankenstein of a team that they've put together relative to roster construction and the money that's being spent on it, it's very hard to correct the wrongs. But they've been very vocal. It came out right before Christmas that they were shopping Nurk. And then last week it said that they weren't shopping Nurk. And that's like, well, no, duh. They're not shopping Nurk because they did, and nobody fucking wanted him. They're calling up people, and people are looking at the phone like the Suns are a telemarketer, and they're instantly just like sending to voicemail because they know what it's about. Like, hey, you want Nurkic? It's like, no, nobody wants him. And so this team has been very vocally trying to make some adjustments for quite some time. And one of the things that the Suns do to try to deflect from that is saying, no, like we're going to ride this out and see what we got. And every time they get a win, which is very few and far between, it's, maybe they've turned a corner. We said it on Christmas, said it last night. Give it time with Bradley Beal. That's what Suns Geek kept saying last night. You got to give this process time. And I agree with that, but also you're entering this part of the schedule where it is an easy part of the schedule. January is an easy part of the schedule. You have Charlotte twice in like 5 days. That should be 2 automatic wins. And it's not. And so what it is, it's exposing the Suns for the foundational issues they have, the drama that's happening in the locker room, which they might not necessarily talk about out in the open, but it's there. It's clear as day. It's there. This team is about to crack, and the Suns are going to have to make some move. We don't know what that move's going to be, but something's going to happen. Something's going to happen. And when you lose like this, it expedites the process. And I see Clyde on Twitter. Thanks for joining us on Twitter. He says, how would Beal get traded if he is? Who knows? Because he too, like Nurkic, has a contract that is just one, he controls his destiny, right? I mean, that's one of the biggest challenges with him is because of that no trade contract, no trade clause in his contract. He controls his destiny, which makes it so very hard to move for him. And then to get somebody who wants to pay that much for somebody who continually shows that he doesn't have it in him consistently. He had a great night last night, but in no world did I think he was going to have a great night tonight. Did you?
Yeah, I kind of thought he would kind of ride that. I did. That's the way I am. I kind of think like I'm gonna buy in a little bit to like this Beal, like wait it out. But you're right though, because you can't really kind of wait it out now, because if you're gonna try to sell high on Beal having a couple good games, if you were to play great tonight, then it's like, okay, well, there is something left in Beal. Like we can make a trade for him. Maybe they're trying to get something out of that. But my thing is right now, man, like with Beal being on this team, it's, he said in an interview, he's like, I hold the cards. As soon as someone comes to talk to me, then we'll talk about it. So far, he hasn't heard anything. No one's talked to him about it, which is kind of crazy. They have. And I do think that the way that the energy is on that team, it kind of feels like, Beal's like that person, like at a party, go to a party, and you're like waiting for them to leave. Maybe it's your mom. Maybe I used to party with my mom, be like, Mom, can you please leave so we can actually have a good time? No, I'm going to stay here till 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock and make sure you have the worst fucking night. That's kind of how it's feeling right now with this team. It's just like you're waiting for that one guy to leave, and then you can start, really opening up and just having maybe the extra guy of Jimmy Butler to see if it actually really works and start getting things rolling. The more and more you hold on, the more games we waste, the less fun that we're having with this team and the less fun that I feel like Beal's having. But maybe he is enjoying this. Maybe he's just like, fuck you guys. You brought me here. You promised me a lot. And the fact that I went to the bench, you put me on the bench and try to get me out of here, or you put me on the bench to try to make this work. Like, I'm going to prove you guys wrong. And the first game, I'm going to come out and score 24 points, 23 points, whatever he had. 25. The best 25 games or 25 points. Like, that is exactly what I want from him. He's like, you know what? Yeah, I can be that guy. But then obviously the second game can't follow up like that. So it seems like it's a very selfish team in a way where a lot of these guys are just trying to get their, like they're coming out, I guess, in a way where they're like kind of reaching for their own stuff, like their own contract. Kevin Durant's just here because, he wants to play ball. Devin Booker, he's been more aggressive as of late, but, like he's kind of been laid back too. So we notice these guys so much as individuals and what they're doing individually. Like we can never talk about how it's a complete team. So I think the only way to get there is if Beal were to be like, you know what, I am going to get out of here because it's going to help this team and help my career too. And the quicker we can get this done, the better everybody will be. So it's a very difficult situation, obviously, to continue to watch game to game. And it's just one of those things where it's like, it can pop up in the morning when the trade happens, or it can happen, early February when the trade deadline is. So it's going to be a long wait, maybe.
And to your point, this is what Bradley Beal said yesterday.
I was going to say, I'm sure you've been aware of kind of like all the other stuff, moving parts around the league, Jimmy and all that.
Yeah.
There's some speculation around the league that this is related to that. Have you thought about kind of like moving on, starting like related to the bigger picture?
If so, I need to be addressed because I hold the cards. So until I'm addressed and somebody says something differently, then I'm gonna be a son.
The body language in that video is so bad. The I hold the cards thing almost is said like a threat. And again, that's at the basis of this team. I mean, this Suns team is one of the craziest teams I've ever witnessed in my entire life. Because at the end of it all, there's one thing that this team doesn't have that teams had in the past despite playing poorly. And that's hope. Like, there's no hope with this team. There isn't, unless you throw a stick of dynamite, completely blow it up, get assets back, because assets equal hope. That's the only way that this team can rectify itself. It's a tough watch night in, night out, because every lever that this team pulls seems to be the wrong one. It looked good last night, but then you look at tonight and they lose to a team that shot under 40% from the field and under 30% from beyond the arc. I mean, there's no world where they should have lost this game. but due to continual issues with their defensive intensity, their defensive energy, and once the defense steps up, what happens? The shot making goes. This team cannot play a complete game to save their lives. Last night, the Suns didn't win against Philly. Philly lost the game. That's the way I look at it. The Suns didn't play extraordinarily well. They scored 109 points, but they played a team that was shooting horribly, and Paul George had a bad night, and you can credit Ryan Dunn for his efforts. But ultimately, the Suns' identity has been one that is inconsistent, of no defense, of no heart, and of mental weakness. Again, the recipe that this team plays with, we witnessed it once again tonight, where they go up early, and then they start feeling themselves, and then they stop playing with effort, and then they give up another 30-plus point quarter, and then all of a sudden they're down 13 at halftime, and they got as close as 3 points a couple times. But they're so bad for such a long stretch of every game that they're always fighting out of it, and then that is where you start to see those cracks in the foundation that I've continually mentioned on this podcast. Because when adversity happens for a good team, they bond together and they fight through it together. And sometimes they come close and they miss the victory, but you can see the fight and the chemistry that occurs. And this team is just not there. We see it time and again. So it'll be interesting to see if this team takes the stick of dynamite and tries to blow a piece off of this, because you can't blow it completely up. You just have to blow an ancillary piece off of this.
Yeah, and you look at going into the last two seasons, especially this season, Bill Simmons picked the Suns team to go to the finals. It was like his pick to win it all. And last season, we were very excited about everything about it. Like this whole team, the pieces they added, they did a great job of adding some youth, some guys that were really cheap. This year, they got a group of guys that are more veterans, guys that can actually play, that Kevin Durant seemed to like better. So, it's weird to kind of just take a step back and be like, I know there's been injuries, but we were so excited with what we had in the court. So it's like, how doesn't it work out? So then you're just thinking about, well, there's two guys, obviously, Kevin Durant and Booker, who you're relying on for an output, for some kind of like energy, some defensive impact on playing both ends, whatever, to help this team win games like this, or to stay above 500, even when there are injuries, right? I think Kevin Durant, obviously with Booker now, I think they're 13-5 now record when they're both on the court, something like that. Mm-hmm. So obviously it's phenomenal, but it's like, why is it that we can continue to look at this team and be like, it looks good, but there's Booker and Kevin Durant that are still remaining on the team from last year with Beal, obviously. So why isn't it working? Is it because we're putting too much on those two guys and Booker and Durant to get things done? They just can't do it. Or what is it?
I honestly believe in the issues on the interior. That the fact that we have such because that's what killed us tonight was the interior. It was Nick Richards going off on the Suns because there's no interior presence, because Mason Plumlee and Yusuf Nurkic couldn't get the job done tonight, because if you put size and speed down on the block, they can't defend it. And that's where the fucking Horny Hornets changed the tide in this game, was in that second quarter when they started pounding the interior, and it led to easy points. They had 16 points in the paint in the second quarter. The Suns had 17 total points. It was Mark Williams, it was Nick Richards, it was the fact that the Suns were getting destroyed on the boards all night long. Final rebounds in this game, 59 for Charlotte, 42 for the Suns. So when you don't have an interior presence behind Kevin Durant and Devin Booker to defend, when you don't have somebody who can negate opposing possessions or give you extra possessions, when you have no rim protection on a consistent basis, you have issues. And you see teams continue. That's why we beat Philly last night, because they had no interior. We're on this horrible stretch because we're playing just average basketball teams who have an interior presence, and the Suns can't defend them or out rebound them. And it's the Nurkic issue. It's the Plumlee issue. It's it's the need to have that athletic big, rim running big on the interior. It's like if Oso Ighodaro could just be 3 inches taller,
Messy.
you know? Yeah, if he
Yeah.
could be Eves Missy, you know, like
Eves
who I
Missy.
wanted us to draft.
Yeah.
You need that interior presence because it's hurting the Suns on the interior. And then Saul says this as well. We need size, youth, and athleticism. We have none. Well, we have some youth, and the youth helped us win that game last night. It was Ryan Dunn and Oso Ighodaro who had great performances.
Which is crazy.
We do have some athleticism in both of those guys, and Devin Booker's somewhat athletic, and so is Kevin Durant. But when you're old like that, the energy goes. You can't time after time, after possession after possession after possession, keep coming at people. You get worn down even in games like this, you know? And Seth says this, oh no, John, sounds like you're pining for DA. I'm not. I'm pining for the DA archetype. That was the disappointing part about DA is he had all the skills necessary, but he didn't have the harder drive to execute them. And that's why that didn't work out. But we need something on the interior. So the goal, in my opinion, is you need to continue to build around Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. And the fact that you have Bradley Beal has hampered your ability to put quality ancillary pieces around them because it's $50 million. It's got a no trade clause in the contract, and it's here until 2027. It's a perfect storm of shit.
Yeah, and two things really quick. So, I think we kind of figured out. Like, I don't think I'll ever blame the center position because I think they should be fine. Because I think maybe I'm just so into like the whole big three thing still, and just thinking like they should get it done somehow. You know what I mean? Like they should be feared, but they haven't been feared this year since they started 8-1. So I'm just still maybe waiting for that to see the old Kevin Durant come back and like Booker scoring 39. But you know how many times Booker scores 30 plus and we always lose, right?
Yeah,
so it's like it's never an impactful. But yeah, obviously the bigs it's a thing. And really quick, Dagoberto Ortiz says Claxton. I know it'd be nice, but not gonna happen. It's funny because I think Suns fans always just want somebody. It's like we can't. No teams are not going to just give us these players. Like we can't, and we obviously can't get anybody.
Yep.
It's just like with the owner now, like Ishbia, it's like fans and we all want these other guys. Like, all right, just get him and we'll be fine. But obviously we can't do that. And the second thing, I just always will blame DA for all of this. So I'll never want DA back.
Yeah.
If DA ever gave a fucking care about anything with this organization or actually trying to be a better player, we would have never had to blow anything up and make the trade. We would have had a team because he would have been the best player on the team. But I don't want to go there because I still blame him for all this shit. It's all his fault we made the trade.
It is, part of it's. I would say it's all his fault, but he's definitely a factor in that. And you see Portland, he's sucking in Portland too, and their fans. I was looking at their fans the other day, and man, they're losing their minds on him too. They're like, dude, we're paying this guy so much money, can't he just give a shit? The stats look nice, but when you watch the game, it's
8
not.
10. Yeah, he's always 8 of 10, 8 of 13.
Yeah,
same
yeah,
shit.
with like 12 rebounds,
averaging 8 and 18 or 18 and 8, whatever.
But I mean that's where the issue lies, and obviously there's a lot of talk about Jimmy Butler. And we've talked about it on the podcast. We've written about it plenty on Bright Side of the Sun. And I've hit the point where I don't even think Jimmy Butler would be a good get because of the issues that we have. I think that Jimmy Butler is old, has his own injury issues. Would it shake things up and add an attitude and edge to this team? Yes. But will it equate to victories? Probably not, because even if you bring Butler here, even if you're putting everyone in their proper positions, you still don't have a center. You still have Mason Plumlee, Yusuf Nurkic, and Oso Ighodaro as your three, and two of them are duplicative players who are slow of foot and not great finishers around the basket. Nurkic is a damn good rebounder, but he's not even getting play anymore. They're putting him on the bench because they're just trying things new. What do you think about Nurkic going to the bench?
It's weird. I have a different take. I kind of feel bad for him a little bit just because, from the start of the season, he's been terrible. He had a few stretches there that looked pretty good. But I never wanted it to be, blame Nurkic for all this shit because obviously going to the bench, you're not going to get much better with Plumlee. I think you have a guy that can obviously rebound and just not make a dunk either. So I don't know what happened to Plumlee tonight. There was another dunk attempt where he just kind of just threw it off against the backboard. I don't know what he's doing down there whenever he has an attempt that's wide open. I'm okay with him going to the bench, but it's just a weird look for this team if you're looking at us from afar, being like, what the fuck's going on over there?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like the thing that we wanted to do before was like the bench Ayton or something like that to teach him a lesson. But it's like now that Nurk's going to the bench, you just know it's like a definite thing. Maybe he'll come back, who knows? But for me, I feel like it's a definite thing. And you can just see on his face, it's a hit to his ego. And he struggled so much just trying to kind of facilitate this year, but also just like make other players happy, I feel like, on the court, because he doesn't want to mess up. Now that he's on the bench, like now he has to relearn a lot of shit, play with different players. He's still playing with the starters at times, but he just looks like he doesn't know what he wants to do out there, like set picks. I feel like he's just very vulnerable, and I feel kind of bad for the dude. I know he hasn't been good, but I just feel like it's worse for him to come off the bench, because I feel like he's just going to struggle even more trying to adapt to it and trying to do too much and then just do too much, which is always just a bad idea.
Yeah, Beal to the bench made perfect sense to me for numerous reasons. It was one last grasp of leverage that the Suns had or have. It is an opportunity to have him come in and relieve Devin Booker and keep shooting guard shooting still available. Nurkic didn't make sense because there's no leverage play there. There just really isn't. I just don't get it. And I kind of wish that he would have continued to start just to see what this team has, because despite all of his deficiencies, he does have some size. And I feel like he could have done a better job, at least tonight, instead of just getting like Mason Plumlee getting pwned left and right. But at the same time, like my buddy Anthony Latham says, Nurk is Timu Jokic, and that's even too kind. He's not even Timu Jokic, man. He's Timu Mason Plumlee, it feels like. So yeah, I kind of feel bad for Nurkic and the situation that he's in. But at the same time, like, you have to play yourself into a position to where you can be successful, and he hasn't done that in any semblance. You look at all of his advanced metrics year over year, they're getting worse, and his attitude's getting worse along with it. And the Suns are in a tough spot right now. It's clear as day. It's clear as day that this team is lost and they don't know which way to go. They're trying to look internally, but I think that, again, without leadership, it's hard to look internal and say this is what we could do better, because they have no accountability. For Nurkic tonight, he hit 2 threes, and Charlotte's a team that loves shooting the 3 ball. And I was like, walk him over to the locker room, have him and Nick Richards switch jerseys, and maybe no one from the Hornets will notice.
Why would they care either?
Why would they care? What were your thoughts on Nick Richards tonight?
Oh, I think he was pretty dominant at times. I did actually miss the second quarter, where I guess it seems like he was more dominant there. He's the perfect kind of fit for this offense, and that's the thing. It's like, it's kind of frustrating because we have so much on this team at all ends. Like, even the bench, it should be a dynamic bench.
We should be.
But when you look at the one thing of the center, it's like, oh, could we just have that one guy, the one guy that would put us over the top, which is insane to say.
The disease of what if, right?
Yeah, exactly. Of course, Nick Richards has always been on the radar. It's always been a guy that I feel like a lot of Suns fans, including myself, would love to have on this team. But the thing is like, someone put in the chat, it just went up. I didn't see who it was, but they're talking about, here it is. Saul Soto says, I would take Green and Sagoon from the Rockets for KD, add a few picks. So my thing is with KD, I'll just switch it to KD really quick, because I just want to say, like, if I'm a team and about to win a championship, I'm almost there I'm like one piece away, maybe. I wouldn't trade anything for Kevin Durant. I wouldn't. Would you? Like, I'm just saying, like, I feel like if it's easy for him, if he goes there and there's no pressure on him, he can just sit there and hit shots, then yeah. But if you're looking for a guy to put you over the top and get difficult shots and hit hard shots for you in late in games, maybe, and be consistent at doing it, I just don't see that as Kevin Durant. Like, I'm just saying, if I'm OKC or the Houston Rockets, whatever, I would stay with what I have. I would not trade.
Yeah, why
Durant.
would you fuck up the chemistry that you have?
That's what I'm saying. I wouldn't.
Right.
I wouldn't mess
up.
Here's the other
thing. Here's the other thing people need to start realizing when it comes to the Rockets. The Rockets are banking on the Suns to suck this year.
Yes.
Because the Rockets have our first round pick next year. It was traded to Brooklyn, who traded it this offseason to Houston. So what they're trying to do, they don't want Kevin Durant to disrupt their chemistry. They're the third best team in the Western Conference. They're playing well, and they have our first round pick. So why would they want to bring in Kevin Durant to fuck with their chemistry? Kevin Durant can fit in any situation and be an elite scorer.
Yeah.
But he is somebody who is all about ball, and he's about me, not necessarily we. And that's okay. That's who he is. You don't need to get your again. It must be nice to be a stan because then you could draw that line in the sand. But as a Suns fan, that's my Kevin Durant experience.
Yeah.
He's a great me guy. Haven't really seen a bunch of we. Now, granted, I will give him some acknowledgement because during this shitty run of Phoenix Suns play, he has had some quotes where there is some accountability on his end, where he's talking about his turnovers and he needs to be better in that capacity, and this team needs to be better. And I liked seeing that. And I wish that holistically words would equate to actions. Kevin Durant, not a great night tonight. Very inefficient, 8 of 18, 1 of 6 from beyond the arc, only 2 turnovers, 26 points though, because he's Kevin Durant. That's what he does. He scores. He gets to the free throw line. He was 9 of 10 from the free throw line. So he is a great player. But if you're looking for team, because that's what this team is missing, is what Houston has. It's what OKC has. It's what Denver had when they won the championship. It's what Dallas had when they made a run last year to the Western Conference Finals and to the NBA Finals. It's what Boston had when they won it. It's chemistry. It's what the Suns had when we went to the finals and had the next year when we won 64 games. But a couple of disappointing playoff losses coupled with Chris Paul's aging health and his constant injury history, especially in the postseason, the Suns were like, okay, we're going to depart from him. And that was the decision. I don't mind the Kevin Durant acquisition. I don't. It's the Bradley Beal one that's fucked this team because it fucked the Kevin Durant and Devin Booker window, because it took that window and then it put a lock on it. It says we're locked into this. Because if any move needs to be made, as Bradley Beal so eloquently told us earlier, he owns all the cards.
Yay.
And if you want to unlock that window, you need to unlock Bradley Beal.
Yeah, it's like playing upstairs as a 12-year-old with your friend, and then your little baby sister comes up and is in the room with you, and your mom says, like, you have to play with her for 1 hour. It's like the 1 hour is the season.
And she smells like poop because she shit her pants. And you're like, good Lord.
My one thing is, if Beal knows, obviously he knows that, I'm sure things have been said to him, and he just said, I hold the cards, so things have been said. And I just think that, why is he going to put up a fight to want to stay? Is it because of family? Because he just moved here because he wants to be here? He wants to be in Phoenix? Or he wants to see it through with this team and just prove that he can do it with his team coming off the bench, or just being a starter if he goes back to the starting lineup? Like, what is it? And what does he have that, like, what does he know that we don't know? What is he trying to prove? Like, I don't know what that is.
I don't know if it's anything
coming from him
about trying to prove. It's basketball ego. I've been a great player my entire life. You're not going to tell me I'm not a great player anymore. It is the stability factor that you mentioned, that he lived in Washington for 11 years prior to coming here, moved his family out here, lived out here for over a year, starting to get settled. And who would want to just go, yeah, I'm out of here? You know, he's not Jimmy Butler. He's not in that same capacity.
I know, but then that's just coming here and saying, like, you know what, it's not working, but I'm going to.
But I don't care. Pay me.
Yeah, it's just like, I'm gonna make these fans suffer, even though they're not the ones that
he doesn't care about. He doesn't care about the fans, though. He's caring about himself, and that's. I mean, that's.
I guess it's okay, but I don't know, man.
I mean, them's the rules. He's a genius for getting that no trade clause built into his contract. Only him and LeBron have that no trade clause, and it is one of the worst decisions that Matt Ishbia has ever made in his litany of like 7 decisions that he's made. He's made hot dogs cheaper. He put the Suns on Channel 3 to where I have to stream it.
Never buying a hot dog at a Suns game. Sorry. I've never bought popcorn or a hot dog at a Suns game.
But you have bought
water.
No, what are those fries?
The garlic fries. Are those $2?
No, but you bought garlic fries one time and made the whole section smell. Yeah, I was like, good Lord, man.
You, dude.
Good Lord.
Yeah, it's always by accident too. It's the only thing that's open. There's no line.
Yeah, I wonder why. You know, so again, the state of the Suns is a messy one. And as we sit here on January 7th, after a disappointing loss, I feel like the fuse has been lit. The lighting of the fuse was moving Beal and Nurkic to the bench. And the fuse has been lit, and it's going down. It's like a movie, right? It's gunpowder, and it's headed towards. But the issue we don't know right now is we don't know if it's headed towards like the house or if it's headed out to like the shitter. You know, if it's going to the house and we're blowing this whole thing to hell, then it'll be interesting. If it's head out to the shitter and we just blow Nurk to fucking, you know, leave him in Charlotte, that's a different story. And we just don't know what's going to happen. But I feel like after tonight's loss, after what happened this past Sunday, we're really going to start to see some movement. Obviously, the Jimmy Butler talk is he wants to go to Phoenix, no other place. He said that he's not going to extend himself, or he's not going to extend anywhere that doesn't want to pay him. And Brian Windhorst, who said poo poo on ESPN today, he said that the only place that wants to do that is the Phoenix Suns. Of course, it's
we're the team to give him all the money, and he's 36 years old.
Yeah, and it's not going to fix anything. That's the issue.
Nope.
It will fix some attitude issues. It'll look nice on paper, but again, the challenge is this is a team that has looked good on paper all year. All year, it's looked good on paper.
Yeah,
and we're not winning games. We're losing, and it's like embarrassing.
We're like the New York Yankees, dude. Keep stacking it up, and just always gonna fucking lose.
I wouldn't know, man.
Back in the day.
So I mean, it's an interesting state of affairs for the Suns. And I'll tell you something. I was on the subreddit stakeout tonight. And this is what they had to say in Charlotte.
The Suns Jam Session subreddit stakeout.
They were looking around at wins going, where are they? And then the Suns came to town, and they're like, oh, there they are. Some interesting comments from the fan base over there in Charlotte. Booker needs to be Martinized. Cody Martin. Hey, y'all. Just got a halftime notification from the Hornets app. Quick question. What the fuck? This team is so used to never winning. So they're like, a double-digit halftime lead? This is uncharted territory. I always feel like Booker is overhated, and then I watch him play. There's a few guys in the NBA that I would love to see their teeth knocked in. Booker is near the top of that list. I think the Suns fucked themselves for probably 3 or 4 years. Yeah, you're right. This Suns team has awful vibes. And then my favorite comment of the night, which is going to go into, I'm keeping like a Hall of Fame, so we can do it at like the end of the year.
Nice.
Hall of Fame comments. I thought this one was funny. Buzz, motherfucker.
The Suns Jam Session subreddit stakeout.
Adios mio. Adios mio. I'm gonna look at some of the comments. Let's see. I'm so used to doing this thing by myself now. I've really gotten good at like looking at the comments and answering questions. All right, let's see. Roaring Cactus has Tyus Jones fallen out of grace? Let's talk about Tyus.
Sha la 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 la. Mr. Jones and me.
So yeah, Tyus Jones, 4 points, 4 assists in this game, 2 of 6 from the field, 21 minutes played. Well, what's up with that?
I think it's just the staggered minutes. If you're sending Beal to the bench, I feel like you're having Beal and Booker both. I feel like they've been on the ball a lot more, right? Handling it a lot more. I think poor Tyus has just kind of been thrown all over the place this year. There's been no consistency. I think this is the one team you thought he can have a real role as a starting point guard, and it just hasn't really happened. I think he's been phenomenal. I never want to blame him for anything because one game he has to hit shots, one game he has to facilitate, one game has to do both. But he's all over the place, and you don't notice him as much now because I think just the last 2 games because of the switch. But before that, I feel like he's stepped up, but he's just like they were talking about too. With the roles this team is seeing, the players are kind of just skeptical of it, and they're having a hard time in the locker room, just like not knowing what they're supposed to do. So I think that because of that, and because of, just the whole benching thing and stuff like that, like there's just a lot of just stuff up in the air where these guys can't grasp what is going on. And I think it's just hard to focus. I think Tyus is one of them. I think Grayson Allen's the other one. Like, we never talk about Grayson Allen because he doesn't ever have an output or a great game, but there's never been inconsistency with the dude. I don't think he knows what to do either, and I feel bad for him as well.
Well, it's interesting because that's one thing that Chris Haynes reported, that there's a lot of issues within the locker room relative to roles, and Tyus Jones probably part of that. You know, he's there's numerous times, and I've talked about this throughout the year, but like, you don't need your point guard to bring the ball up every time, but he should touch the ball in every possession. And there's times where Booker and Beal or Durant are bringing the ball up. Hell, Nurkic brought the ball up a couple times today, and Tyus Jones doesn't touch the ball on any possessions. I mean, his usage rate is ridiculously low for somebody who is a starting point guard for a team that has all of these expectations. You think there'd be a higher usage rate, but when you look at what Tyus Jones has put together thus far this year, you know, his usage rate is lower than Monte Morris, Josh Okogie, Grayson Allen, Yusuf Nurkic, Bradley Beal. I mean, his usage rate is a 15.8%. Katie's 30.5. Devin Booker's 27.9. I mean, that right there is just ridiculous to me. He just doesn't touch the ball. And he is a great distributor. He's a great shooter. He can really affect this team in a positive way, and he's not utilized in any capacity. And while he had a good run at the beginning of the season, it's like the team has just gone away from him, and I don't know what the why is. I don't know why you would do that.
No, and we talked about, you know, if you don't have Beal, or else you can actually have some better assets around Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. You know, Tyus has shown us that he could be that guy next to those two that really plays almost as well as them at times. Like early in the season, like he was, I thought, part of the big three. Like when there was injuries, I was like, he is playing as good as those guys right now. He was winning games for the Suns. So that's why it's like when you have a team like this built on those three guys, you just can't have a guy like Tyus Jones on the outside, because he is just that good where he needs to have the ball a lot more and be incorporated in the offense even more. And he's not going to get the opportunity. Even if Jimmy Butler comes in, he still won't be that guy either. But I feel like he's that good of a player where he's just perfect. He's a perfect guy next to Booker and Kevin Durant.
Yeah, so, and it's just the usage rate being down is something I don't understand.
I don't either.
Looking at some other questions here. This is a good one. Is starting Oso worse than playing Nurk or Plum at this point?
Oh, you know what I'm talking about.
Oso Ighodaro. What are your thoughts there, Matthew? Is starting Oso worse than playing Nurk or Plum at this point?
No, I don't think so. I think a couple months ago when we really saw Oso kind of take a leap, and he kind of looked like a guy that he can continue to improve on both ends of the floor. He doesn't have the size, right? But there's just something about him that's like, if he's on the court more, I feel like he would kind of impact the game more in different aspects, whether it's a tip ball, whether it's grabbing a rebound, whether it's his little jump, little hook floater shot, whatever he has, his quick passing, just seeing the floor better than both those guys. I feel like in Nurk and Plumlee, like he can improve, I think, this team by just being on the court more. So I was early on thinking I want Oso to start. So I've always been a part of that, just because I think our centers are just dead even. Like it doesn't matter. So if you were to, I would stick with it. I wouldn't care about matchups. I would start him at center and just have KD at the 4, obviously. So I'm a big fan of it. What do you think?
This sounds like a good piece for Brightside. You look at a night like tonight where we had no interior presence, and I mentioned it earlier in the podcast, when we play the majority of the NBA, we are in a losing matchup to begin with at the 5, and teams take advantage of that time and time again. So why not start Oso, essentially, is the question. And I'm with you there. Like, why not just give him a run? Because we did look good yesterday in minutes that he played. If we might not be undersized right now, but we are certainly underskilled. So why not try to combat it with some skill? And there's going to be teams that attack the interior, and Oso Ighodaro is going to have challenges with them. I guess my only concern would be you don't want to put him in a position where where his confidence can start to be chipped away. You never want to chip away at the confidence of a rookie. You want them to grow and learn from situations, not be in a position where and that's why so many teams like the Hornets have been losing organizations for such a long time, is they start to culturally learn how to lose. And you look at Charlotte tonight and you see why they lose games. all they do is shoot a shit ton of threes and not well. And that's a losing culture to be in. And they're just doing it over and over again. And, now they only have 8 wins, but of course they do it at our expense. But I say, if you're doing this, if you're making a commitment that Yusuf Nurkic is not your starting center, why not? Why not throw Oso out there? I'm with that.
That's how gross it gets. And someone commented too about this team, or Bud's kind of losing control. It doesn't know what he's doing out there. I don't blame him. I don't if I was Bud, I would just kind of retire right now. I would be done. I was like, I don't know what to do with this team. I'm fucked. I can't get these guys to buy in, and I don't blame Coach Bud. I never will. I'm not going to do the coach thing this year.
Roaring Cactus says, sounds like Bud is all over the place and doesn't know how to manage his team. And here's his post-game comments.
Disappointment, frustration, whatever word you want to use when you have a game like yesterday and then have a performance like today.
God, he looks drunk.
No, I mean, we're trying to find our way to, put success after success, to do it day after day. And, we didn't get it done tonight. I wouldn't give it any level or anything. They're competitors. We're competitors. We didn't get it done. We need to get it done.
Curious if
Yeah, I mean, it's just recycle that over and over again because there is no answer.
Shit.
There is no
what
answer.
else? What else are you gonna say? It's like it's all behind closed doors. But I mean, do you feel like Bud's kind of going in the locker room? Those guys are kind of getting dressed and just not listening, not really buying in, just kind of being done. Because again, they're looking around, and be like, "This is not enough," which is fucking crazy. Because it should be absolutely enough to actually contend for a title. And it's just they're gonna blame some other guy, blame the coach, just not listen. Like, I don't know how the buy-in can't work with this guy. I don't understand it.
I like what Suns Fever says. We didn't get it done tonight. Problem solved. It's just the same shit over and over again.
Yeah, I know. He must know the trade's happening soon. So I guess I don't fucking care.
Who knows?
Like you said, if Jimmy comes here, I asked Suns Geek, I'm like, how are you gonna feel? He's like, I'm gonna feel great, right? I don't know if I'll care as much. I'll be like, okay, cool, like we're off the contract. But now that I know that we're gonna re-sign Jimmy probably right away, that freaks me out.
But that is the only thing that I would be ecstatic about, is knowing that we're off of the Bradley Beal contract. Yes, we could potentially sign Jimmy to an extension next year. But you know what that extension will not have? A no-trade fucking clause. That is the end-all, be-all right now.
Man. Yeah, but plus, yeah, I know. I don't know.
Yeah, Anonymous says, Jimmy doesn't play center. That's... Oh, man. Well, I mean, we didn't talk about Devin Booker and his great night, and I don't really care. I don't care that he had a good. Devin Booker, after having a shitty night, had a great night. Like, the team lost. It's just something. Yeah. I was talking about this with Suns Geek last night. Like, Booker's going through something mentally. He finally had a night tonight, but something's up. I think that stuff. the weight of
the Diddy stuff,
the weight of all of this season is mentally taxing him. And yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate that the Suns are in this predicament, but we'll see what they do moving forward.
Do you think it's the Olympics though? You think it's just too much for him?
No, I don't.
You don't think it was just too much, and he's just like, I'll be fine. And then he got like to the season, he's like, damn, this is gonna suck. Like, I just don't have it in me. Because there are plenty of times, unless he is injured, where he gets to the rim and he won't finish. Like, he won't attack a guy like he used to or something. He'll pass it out. Maybe this Bud system, but like, he won't put himself out there anymore. And that's fine because I don't want him to get hurt, but he's not really being aggressive in a way that he used to be. Maybe because of injury, maybe because he is hurt, but I don't know.
I feel like it's definitely a plateau kind of year for him. I think that, right now, Devin Booker should be in his prime. And perhaps all the years of attempting to carry a franchise for as long as he did, injuries that came across it, coupled with the fact, and I've always said this about Devin Booker, he doesn't have the physical tools to be a superstar in this league. And that's okay. You can be an elite shot maker. I mean, I guess I wouldn't, Steph Curry doesn't have all the physical tools to be an elite player, but due to his shot making ability, he has become one of the greatest players in the history of this game. But for the most part, it takes size, length, and athleticism. And while Devin Booker has an amazing jump shot and he gets unbelievable lift on that jump shot, he doesn't have quickness to go around players. He doesn't have length to shoot over them like Kevin Durant does. And that's why Kevin Durant will continue to be great in this league until he's 40, because he will be eventually he's going to be a guy who's making like $17 million a year at 40 years old, although that won't happen because of contractual stuff and how much he's made up to this point in his career and what have you. But potentially he could be a tertiary guy who's just standing in the corner shooting threes and loving it. He could play till he's 43 if that's all he's asked to do. Too bad there's a defensive side, or he might play even longer. But Devin Booker has physical limitations, and when you take the potential of being tired, I don't know if tired, maybe, and this plays into what I was saying earlier, it's a mental tiredness that he's experiencing right now. Couple that with the fact that he doesn't have the physical tools. He can't go around or through guys. He's not great at creating contact to get to the foul line. I mean, there's just a bunch of limitations. It doesn't, again, two things can be true at once. I can love Devin Booker as a player for what he's meant for this organization, but I also can be critical and things I've been saying for 10 years around Devin Booker. It's like I think that this guy has great potential, but his potential is like the best Robin in the league. He'll never be a Batman.
Yeah, and just mentally, just knowing what he had and just knowing where the team is at right now, and just looking at his career, he's going to come to like a stopping point where maybe at the end of this year, maybe at the end of next year, where he's just like, do I want to still be here? Where's this franchise going? So maybe a lot of that's going through his head too, because it's either stay here and work through maybe another rebuild if we have to, or just wait for HB to continue to pile on players around him and work with those guys. But even that, I don't know if he thinks that's just a lot to adjust to. There's so much adjustment. He just knows what it takes to really get to a finals, and the continuity, he knows what it is now. And maybe he just doesn't see it with this team, and that's just a lot for him to even think about. So it could be both. Who knows? Nice. Let's stakeout.
Well, I saw this comment, and I wrote a piece about this on Brightside, so I think that this is worth a quick conversation here at the back end of the podcast. Where'd the comment go? Blah, 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 blah. You are right. Vogel is owed so many apologies. Do we owe Frankie Vogel an apology?
No, I don't.
Do the Suns owe him an apology?
Though, you know who owes Frank Vogel an apology? Is DeAndre Ayton. That's who. There's no apologies to anybody but DeAndre Ayton and the big fucking letdown that he left a big fucking turn in Phoenix, dude. I swear to God, dude. There's always, the talk about, he's just who he is. He is who he is. But you know what? If that guy would have been anything, we would have never been in this problem right now, having these issues right now. I can't stand it. Why'd you have to bring up DeAndre Ayton again, dude?
You brought up DeAndre Ayton. You brought him up.
Ayton Watch 2021.
Jeez, that was the thing, though. We don't watch players like we used to watch DeAndre Ayton at all.
This is a fun thing. It's like, all right, would these guys would have helped this Suns team? Let's play their drop from a long time ago.
Get crazy.
All right, we got a situation.
I'm the sweetest bitch you'll ever meet. After I
That's the Dario, Torrey Craig, Frank Kaminsky.
How many times did you play that?
Once.
I barely remember that one.
Or what about would this guy help us out? Let's see. Let's go a year later. Wow, look at all the background shit.
all I can say is, Sam, wow.
Or how about probably my favorite drop of all time? I was singing this today.
Biz.
Are you really asking me if any of these guys would help?
Yeah, would any of these guys help this?
I'd rather have Sherman back than Beal right now. So Bill Simmons was right.
There you go.
Oh, I'm just kidding, Beal. I love you.
Don't lie to him.
I don't care.
Oh, well, that's it for this show, Jamsters. We will be coming to you live after Thursday's game. That is a home game for the Suns. They return home to play the Atlanta Hawks. That is Dave King's Brightside night. So to any of you who donated to that, Thank you. We're sending, as of right now, it's over 1,700 kids. Over $12,000 was raised to send kids to that game. Thank you ever so much from the kindness of your heart for doing that. That's a game that I know both Matthew and I will be missing because, as fate would have it, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, who kind of a big fan, are playing in the Orange Bowl that night. So we'll be watching that game. Watching the Suns will be on. We're going to come on that podcast and just tell you what the stats say because I'm probably not going to watch any of that shit.
Well, I have to cover the game still because I don't know if anybody can. So I'll be watching the Suns game too. So maybe I'll do just we can go on the post game. I'll know what to
Sweet.
say.
You tell me what to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes.
It's easy. Just do one of those quick recaps. Make it 300 words.
And the recap will be about the Notre Dame game.
You should. Like, fuck this. We're talking about the Orange Bowl. But thank you to everyone who did donate to that. It truly, truly makes a difference. I think Dave would be proud of the effort that everybody put forth to put that on. I know that Brandon Dunes, who is AZ Sports Zone on Twitter, who's the deputy manager at Bright Side of the Sun, will be interviewing Rex Chapman before the game. So that's who.
Nice. Sexy Rexy again, huh?
Sexy Rexy round 2. So if you're one of the 25 people who are going to be on that Q&A, thank you for donating as much as you did in order to go to that Q&A. But that's all I got for tonight, Matthew. So I'll see you on Thursday, hopefully talking happier. Maybe about the Suns, but hopefully about Notre Dame.
Well, if Notre Dame wins, I'll be happy. I don't care about the Suns.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Bye, guys. Love your family.
Go home and love your Irish.
What to say.